That's right. The Necrons are back.
Spiky Bits.
Welcome back, Hobby Maniacs. I'm Rob Baer from SpikyBits.com, and we've got another 40k new release, the new Necrons. Necrons are back, baby. I can't even tell you the last time there was a new Necron release. I actually can't. I don't remember. I feel like it's actually been that long. So Illuminor Szeras had an old model. I think it was metal for like a hot minute, or it might have only been fine cast back in 2011. I think it was recently, the latest price was $20.50. Now this one goes for $50. It's a larger model. It's on an 80 mil base. Remember, you can always get your hobbies for less from Miniature Market or dicehead.com. You know, it's a great update when you start looking at it and all the things that are going on with it. You know, and this is the big lead into 9th edition, the Indominus box and all that stuff there. And it's just a really great, very dynamic sculpt, of course, at first. But the one thing I'm worried about is definitely a lot of, fiddly bits and things with everything that's going on here. So let's jump into it, take a look at the sprues, take a look at the instructions, and see how hard it is to actually get together. Once you get the package open here, you're going to have the instruction manual, one sprue, which is actually 4 different individual sprues, or 1 unit size sprue, however way you want to look at it. I don't know what the quantification is, but there you go. Now you kind of know. 80 millimeter base, which is actually kind of chunky if you think about it. So let's take a look at the instructions here. So at first, it's looking pretty straightforward. Now, I do like this chunky kind of style of terrain here, which we saw it with Magnus, we saw it with Gaz. Gaz, that was actually part of repositioning the model so you could actually have 2 different positions. Abaddon had it, Guilliman had it. So a lot of the larger than life kind of characters are getting this. I mean, Ephraim Stern had it with the little swirling kind of Alice, Resident Evil kind of look thing. But so this is definitely part of this right here. Now, the joints go together. You got hip joints with 4 ball sockets there for his legs, and you got some armor plates and things. So you could, in theory, keep these armor plates off if you wanted to paint them separately. The spine goes on. So this all looks pretty straightforward, right? And then you switch it to the next page. You got the rib cage and this back kind of piece right here. So as you go, each little section is showing you, it looks like the piece of the next is highlighted in blue. So that's kind of important to see, and then you put the head on at this point. Now, the thing that looks a little weird here is it's kind of hard to line up the arms, and I'm not sure which sockets those go into looking at this. But see that blue up there almost makes it look like it goes in the back. So that's kind of something to take note of, I suppose. The blade itself looks to be pretty much all together. Now, I just glanced at the sprue, so I couldn't tell you that, but it looks like the blade all the way down to the bottom is actually, yep, I'm looking at it on the sprue, and that's actually all one piece, which is really interesting. And then this is kind of where it starts to get a little fiddly here with his little, whatever this thing is called, like sucking up the psychic essence. What is this thing? Not the Eldritch Lance. Oh, I guess it doesn't have a name. And then his arm here is kind of dialing into some of this, so he's checking it out. And this goes into one of the swirlies right here, which is kind of happenstance. And you've got more armor plates with the little mandible kind of pincers. Okay. And this thing back here kind of sockets in and ties it all in with this little piece of blackstone. So there you've got your sub-assembly of the model. And then you get into another sub-assembly, which is his last leg, kind of pinning down this Imperial Priest right here. And then he's got his arm kind of being sucked out, and then this piece going up, and you've got the last leg which looks to go in the front, and it doesn't really show you sort of that this is supposed to socket in up here. So, and then these all go in these arbitrary positions. So I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, all right. And then this piece of the Eldritch Lance goes in over here somewhere, which you can just barely see. It's shaded right there. So, I mean, as far as like instructions go, I feel like they could have done a little better here. Now, I haven't got the model together yet, so I'm not 100% sure, but this to me is a little worrisome. So we're going to take a look at that here in a few minutes. Rules-wise, you got everything right here. A lot of this is going to tie into the new Necrons, which I guess at this point we wouldn't have known were coming out when this guy came out, but now we all know this stuff's coming basically out back to back because of the delays and everything. Just keep in mind he is a cryptech, so he can benefit from those new murder boxes that are coming out with all the attacks, and he can switch their weapon skill and ballistic skill and stuff. It looks really, really cool, and hopefully we'll have some of those from the Indominus box to check out here soon. Sprue wise, it's kind of hard to tell just how crazy this assembly might be, I suppose, but everything's laid out pretty well for the most part. You can see where the sprue lines are going to be pretty much on all of the talons, on the top surfaces and things. For the plates, not going to really matter that much. For the ribbing, yeah, it might matter. And then from the underneath of the rib cages, it might be hidden a little bit. There's going to be a lot on this Eldritch Lance. Actually, I don't see that many on this piece of plastic in general, which is interesting. And then all across the top of this soul-sucking kind of bit sort of thing up here, so I don't know. And then you got the mandible plates and the little mandible. Those are really tiny bits. That one's a tiny bit. And then this stuff right here is very small. Like, look at that. That is very small. And then he got his arm. I think this goes on to the dead guy right here. So, I mean, detail-wise, it looks good, but still a little worried about the assembly. All right, so we've got it assembled here, and I gotta tell you, you gotta, it is as suspected. It's all about the positioning of these terrain pieces here, and the legs going into the sub-assembly over here to get it locked in correctly. So it's gonna take a little trial and error, a little bit of dry fitting to kind of lock it in. But if you do mess up, like we did actually, you can fix it with a little bit of work, just kind of repositioning things that might, I mean, this is actually an incorrect assembly. It might not look at first, but this strand of ethereal energy or psychic energy is actually supposed to lock in up here. But it just didn't position right, I'm going to be honest with you. And you can see a lot of where we used some glue and some gap filler to kind of make it all work. Probably spent a little bit too much time on this, and you know, sometimes that happens with those sort of kits. I've seen it in the past. So you just gotta kind of, you know, take it slow, dry fit as much as you can to really get in there. Now, it's a very stunning miniature for sure, and I'm sure, you know, this will be the centerpiece of a lot of people's Necrons, but there's much bigger models on the way, of course. But this seems like you could have the most fun with these, you know, flat blades and doing some OSL or doing some like reverse kind of power sword fades and things, and then all sorts of craziness you can do here. And even, you know, if you really want to kind of get all the basing together, you can use, and I've showed this to you in the past, I don't think I have it handy, but, oh yeah, here it is. So Liquitex makes this resin sand, which is pretty good. White Metal Games actually turned me on to this stuff, so it's a little bit better than the Vallejo pumice. You can use this, and it's almost like a filler too. So if you put that, not only will it texture your base, but it'll also fill the gaps and make it all flat, which is super nice. Whereas pumice sometimes shrinks with water and things like that. So you could get in here and get a nice texture, and then just paint it all whatever way you want. Maybe there's a specific texture you're looking for, or you just slap some of the GW texture paint over it that's already, you know, kind of like pre-painted, and you can kind of take it from there. But you know, just to give you an idea here, like there is some noticeable gaps. There is some noticeable flash. Remember, all the flash lines are going to be on your flat surfaces. You can kind of see right here where some of it was trimmed off. But it actually wasn't that bad on this model, thank God. But there was, you know, I'm not sure on everybody's particular cast. But it's a very striking model, you know, and there's like, you can spend a lot of time on a lot of these and really kind of crack out to a lot of the details. So I do like that. But I think the instructions could have been a little bit better, and maybe if they had socketed in or made it so that there was a template to put these in, so you could pretty much have an error-proof assembly. I think that would help out a lot of folks. So if you're a newer hobbyist, just kind of slow down, take your time on this one. It will be fine. And if you mess up, you can probably kind of muddle through and make it look like that. It's only crazy if it doesn't work, and that is pretty much true to hobbying as well. So that is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching our a little bit different unboxing build of Illuminor Szeras. And yeah, hopefully next video will be the Indominus stuff. Yay! So don't forget, you can always get your hobbies for less from Miniature Market or dicehead.com. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications so you can be the very first to like and comment on all our videos.